Well, for most of the year in the Western Conference, the Minnesota Timberwolves have led the way, and right now they sit a half game back of the Oklahoma City Thunder for first place in the Western Conference as the Portland Trailblazers tonight will finish up a short three-game road trip in Minnesota against the Timberwolves. Tip-off is coming up at 5, and I've got Blazers Game Day for you for the next 90 minutes. Chad doing here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Coming up on the show, we will hear from Blazers coach Chauncey Billups in the coach's corner to get his take on the Blazers' victory over the Grizzlies that came on Saturday night. Back-to-back nights, the Blazers got wins in Memphis. So they got back-to-back wins, and they have a chance to get a three-game sweep on this three-game road trip before they head back home and kick off a six-game homestand against the Oklahoma City Thunder coming up on Wednesday. And we'll focus in on this team, on the growth of the youngsters, and that's what we saw with the two victories in Memphis. Multiple guys stepping up to make game-winning plays, especially with the young guys, the unsuspected stars of those two games in Memphis, which is terrific, including Delano Banton and Jabari Walker. I'll get to What's the Scoot. We'll give you the latest injury report, and we'll continue to focus in on the NBA as we head now for the playoffs. We're in the stretch run, and all the contenders now starting to tighten it up, shorten the rotations, and lock in on their chase for a championship. If you want to reach out to me, you can do so. You'll find me on Twitter at Chad in Rip City. You'll find me there at Chad in Rip City. You can also reach out and join the show, 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620. But I want to go back to what we saw on Saturday and just walk through the game. It was really an unsuspecting victory for the Trailblazers, who did not get off to a good start. But we did see, like we saw on Friday, the Blazers off to a quick start. They built a 16-10 lead with 4:21 to play in the first after a pair of free throws from Jeremy Grant. Portland would go on to take a 25-20 lead at the end of one. The Blazers shot just 37% in the first, but they scored 6 points off of 6 Grizzlies turnovers. Grant, Anthony Simons, and Dwight Reeve each scored 5 in the opening quarter. Now, the Blazers led 35-32 with 8:22 to play in the half following a Jabari Walker bucket, but the Grizzlies started to make their move. A Memphis 12-3 run put them up 44-38 with 3:12 left in the half, and they would go on to hold a 51-47 advantage heading into the locker room. Memphis got the offense going in the second quarter with 31 points on 52% shooting. G.G. Jackson dropped 10 points in the period. Portland sloppy. They committed 11 turnovers in the second, leading to 8 Memphis points. Simons led the Blazers with 10 in the first half. Jabari Walker had 8, and Vince Williams Jr. led all scorers with 15. Memphis cranked up the intensity in the third, scoring the first 8 points in the quarter in the opening 2.5 minutes, taking a 59-47 lead. The Grizzlies extended their lead to 17 with an 11-6 run, and Memphis pushed their lead out to 78-61 entering the fourth quarter. The Grizzlies outscored the Trailblazers 27-14 in the third, holding Portland to just 26% shooting and only 2 of 10 from downtown. And the Blazers committed 6 more turnovers in the quarter, leading to 10 more points for Memphis. So at this point, Grizzlies in control. The Blazers not playing good offense. They didn't have the intensity on defense, and it looked like the Grizzlies were going to run away with it. Memphis on top 87-73 with 7:34 to play, but the Blazers ripped off 9 straight points to cut the deficit to 5 at 87-82, thanks to Ashton Hagans.
Simons out on the perimeter with the Blazers down 8. Gives to Hagans, 3 on the way. Got it! Ashton Hagans from downtown.
So Ashton Hagans with the big 3. Portland down 5, 4:43 to play. Then the Trailblazers trail by 5 with 1 minute to go. Vince Williams Jr. was called for a flagrant 1 after elbowing Tamani Kamara in the chin. Ouch! 2 shots and the possession. Kamara made 1 of 2, and then Jabari Walker turned it over when he stepped out of bounds. After a Williams turnover, Jabari Walker grabbed a Hagans miss and went to work on the boards.
Now to Hagans. Hagans for 3. Short. Walker put back. Yes! With 44.9. It's a 2-point game. The closest since it was 46-44.
All right, 2-point game. Portland got a stop, and then Walker once again going to work on the offensive glass after a missed shot from Ashton Hagans. Take a look at Walker's work. It's very impressive.
Now to Higgins. Higgins for three. Short. Walker putback. Yes! With 44.9. It's a 2-point game. The closest since it was 46-44.
All right, and then Bari at the foul line. Biggest foul shots of his career. He called it after the game.
Second free throw here from Jabari. On the way. Good. We are tied. This is the first tie in this game. Memphis takes a timeout with 1.3 seconds left. We are all even at 95. The Blazers have erased an 18-point deficit with just over 9 minutes to play in the fourth quarter.
All right, to overtime we go, and Anthony Simons got things cooking for Portland.
Simons out on the perimeter with the Blazers down 8. Gives to Higgins, three on the way. Got it! Ashton Higgins from downtown.
All right, so Simons, 30 points on the night with the game tied at 97. Coach Billups called on Delano Banton, who checked back into the game and quickly went to work.
Now gives it up to Banton, turns the corner and drives. Banton slips through with the left hand, banks it in. Strong take for Delano Banton. He had 19 last night, just 4 tonight, but that was a big one as the Blazers back in front, 99-97.
All right, with the Blazers up 4 at 101-97, once again, Jabari Walker stepping up for the Portland Trailblazers.
Gives it to Simons with 80 seconds remaining. Dancing around. Williams is all over him. He goes left with 10 to shoot. He takes off, slides it to Walker, who drives and lays it in. What a pass from Anthony Simons. Jabari Walker with the 2, and the Blazers lead it by 6, 103-97. They've outscored the Grizzlies 8-2 in overtime.
Well, I can't emphasize enough the play of Delano Banton, who they got just before the end of the trade deadline from Boston. He scored 10 points in the game, 8 of those coming in overtime, including these 2.
Banton in midcourt. Shoves Goodwin out of the way. Holds onto the ball at the logo. Down to 8. Defended by Vince Williams on the far side. He takes off. He drives. He steps through. Looks underneath for Walker. Knocked away. Walker gets it back. Puts it up to beat the shot clock. No. But Banton's there for the tip and 2. He hit the front of the rim to extend the shot clock. Banton was right there to grab the rebound. He put it in. Blazers by 5. Timeout Grizzlies with 11 and a half seconds remaining. Anthony Simons is absolutely gassed.
And why stop there? Delano Banton providing the icing for the Trailblazers.
Goodwin gets it into the corner. Here's a step back 3 from Jackson. It's long, loose ball. It's Chris Murray with the rebound. Races into the front court. Slows it down. 3 seconds left. Gives it to Banton. Banton ducks it in at the horn. It's a Rip City winner. 107-100 the final score.
And there you go. The Blazers get the victory 107-100. Back-to-back road wins for the Portland Trailblazers. Impressive. And once again, how about Jabari Walker? He had 19 points, 10 rebounds on Friday, 18 points, 12 rebounds, and clutch play both at the end of the fourth quarter and in overtime. And after the game, it was Brooke Olzendam who caught up with him on the floor.
Wow, Bari, you guys were down 18 at one point, got it to overtime, got it done. What went into this?
Started with Malcolm. Malcolm, he was down, I think it was 18. We came out of timeout. He said, man, he said, y'all play hard. Y'all play together. He said, y'all come back and win this. So I told him at the last timeout, I was like, you called it first. Because the way he said it with passion. We knew it was realistic. So I'm going to say it started with Malcolm.
And Malcolm, you guys have said he's almost another assistant on the floor, so that kind of makes sense to me.
Say it again?
Malcolm's somewhat of an assistant coach for you guys.
Oh, yeah. He's a big vocal leader, instills confidence in all the young guys. So without him, we couldn't have done it today.
Well, obviously he inspired you, but guys on the floor, how did you guys get it done?
Just picking up what we did yesterday. Energy. We knew that they wanted to get their lick back, but we knew we didn't have to change anything. If we just play solid and play like we did yesterday, we're a good team.
Obviously, you hit those 2 free throws to get to overtime. Then you took that charge. How did it feel to be such a huge contributor to this win?
It felt great. I think those are the biggest free throws I've shot in my career. So it's like something you dream about as a kid when you're in bed shooting the ball up in the sky, and when you're out on the driveway shooting the ball like it's the last second. So that was a thought when I got at the free throw line. I was like, man, just like when I was a kid. So it's crazy how it comes back full circle.
That's awesome. The first time you've had back-to-back double-doubles. How much fun are you having? And for the rest of the season, is this how you want to play?
Yeah, usually you mentioned it, fun. Whenever I have fun playing basketball and I'm smiling and I'm playing with passion, that's my best basketball. If I could just get to that consistently, I'm a great player, I feel like.
You're definitely a great player. Nice job tonight.
Thank you.
All right, here are the different guys that stepped up for the Portland Trailblazers throughout the course of the game. And again, it's not who you might expect. Obviously, Anthony Simons was huge on Saturday with 30 points. He was the meal ticket and 20 of those 30 coming in the fourth quarter and overtime. Tamani Kamara, 36 minutes, 15.7 rebounds. He connected on 5 of 10 from the floor. He was 3 of 4 from downtown. They got 12 points and 6 rebounds for Dewap Reef, who got the start at center in place of DeAndre Ayton, who was still out with the sprained hand. 18 points, 12 rebounds, 8 of 16 shooting from Jabari Walker. He was incredibly clutch, and his work on the offensive glass was vital to the Blazers having a chance to win the game. They got 13 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds from Ashton Hagans, who's on the two-way deal, and Delano Banton with 10 points and just quality play once again from Banton, who shows toughness, and he gets after it. 3 rebounds, 8 of those 10 coming in the overtime period, which is truly impressive. And so pretty much everyone who played made some type of contribution. And that's the best type of basketball right now for this team that has been severely shorthanded. Multiple guys stepping up to make game-winning plays. And Billups afterwards talked about the win.
Yeah, I mean, super proud of him. Man, I just knew just coming into the game that we was going to have to do everything we could. You know, you beat a team like that who obviously they have an incredible culture. They're coached very well over there, and you beat them at home like that, you know that they're going to come out and swing, throw every swing that they can at you. And they did that. I thought we responded okay, but we could never get over the hump. And then you come out after halftime, and I didn't think we played well at all in that first half, and you're still only down 4. We left a lot out there. And then, man, we scored 14 points, you know. And I thought we stopped sharing the ball in that third quarter. So we got back to it. So let's just, start off. Let's try to cut it to single digits, man. Let's cut it to single digits, and we'll regroup. And we did that. So many guys played so well. Ashton, I've been so proud of him. You know, he's just a warrior. He really is. He's out there. He lays it on the line every single night, every play that he can. Jabari obviously gave us great minutes. I thought Ant's performance was high level. They threw everything in the kitchen sink at him, denying him full, boxing one. They did everything they could. He stayed patient. You know, he trusted his teammates. I just thought it was a great performance by him. And then I was proud of Delano. Got in foul trouble. We really needed him tonight, but we could never really get him for long spells. It felt like in overtime, Ashton did all he could, but the way they were playing, and we need another scorer out there. Made the change, and he comes in right away, scores, boom. He made some big plays for us.
All right, there's Coach Billups. One of the keys that you want to see from these young players is when they get an opportunity to go in and play. When they're called upon, they want to cash in. You got to take advantage of your opportunity, whether it's, for the Portland Trailblazers or any other team that may be paying attention to you. It's a chance for them to showcase. And it's a great opportunity for guys like Delano Banton or Ashton Hagans. And Hagans talked about that after the game, about cashing in on the opportunity.
Just that opportunity where my name was called, my number was called, and just get in there and do whatever I can to help my team, bring the energy, and that's what happened. Guys that was in the second unit, third unit, no matter what, they was just stayed ready, came in, fought, and brought energy.
And part of that key for the young players is knowing that their coach has confidence in them, and that's something that he talked about as well, just the encouragement from Coach Billups.
Just the coach like that's willing to put his confidence in you late in the stretch like that, down 18 and going into the fourth. Hey, that's big, and I just thank this organization, thank Coach, and for giving me this opportunity. But now it's just time to just keep it going, keep it rolling, and just move on to the next. We got a big one in Minnesota, and we're just trying to get that win too.
Big props to Anthony Simons. He played 44 minutes in that game. He was gassed in overtime, led the way with 30 points, and was a big-time shot maker in the fourth quarter and in overtime. Neither he or Grant played well on Fridays, so Simons able to bounce back and put together a good performance. And the Grizzlies threw all sorts of different bodies at him, different defensive looks, and he was able to rise above. I think the other part that makes this game interesting in terms of how the Blazers were able to go about it, keep in mind they were out without multiple guys. Brogdon was out with the elbow tendonitis. No Scooter Henderson with the adductor strain. Obviously no Shaden Sharp or Robert Williams. And Jeremy Grant left the game and did not return in the second half with right quad soreness. And they didn't have their starting center in DeAndre Ayton. Multiple guys. And that's why you've got to turn to these others. And to watch them step up and be able to go out there and get the job done was quite satisfying. So tonight, It's going to be a tough matchup. Minnesota's been a tall order for the Trailblazers on the year. They've got size, they've got length, they can defend, and they're one of the best teams in the NBA. So this is going to be a big challenge for the Blazers tonight. And the latest injury report from the Portland Trailblazers for the game coming up tonight in Minnesota. Malcolm Brogdon's still out with the right elbow tendonitis, but the latest report was that he was making progress and expects to return to the court soon. Scoot Henderson is still out with the left adductor strain. I expect him to return to the lineup on Wednesday when the Blazers come back home and kick off the 6-game homestand against Oklahoma City. Robert Williams and Shaden Sharp are still out post-surgery. Jeremy Grant is doubtful tonight with right quad soreness. DeAndre Ayton and Matisse Thybulle are questionable with a hand sprain and hip soreness for Matisse. So once again, it looks like the Blazers are going to be severely shorthanded as they get ready to take on one of the best teams in basketball. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on Blazers Game Day. Tip-off is coming up at 5 o'clock. Chris Burkhart will have your Trailblazer pregame show at 4. And when we come back, we'll step into What's the Scoot and give you the latest on Scoot Henderson and what we're looking at the rest of the year for him. Blazers and Timberwolves at 5 right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, so here's the latest on Scoot Henderson. He's dealing with the adductor strain. I was told at the end of last week that the injury is not considered serious. The Blazers are being extra cautionary when it comes to the core injuries because they've had a slew of them of late. And from what Scoot Henderson has said, that if it were up to him, he'd be out there playing basketball right now. But the Blazers are trying to be extra careful. They don't want to cause any more damage to one of their key young players on the roster. So I fully expect him back when the Trailblazers return home for the 6-game homestand, which will kick off Wednesday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. The most irritating part about this adductor strain is that, it followed a stretch where Scoot Henderson was playing his best basketball on the season. No question about it. The best. And now he's sidelined and will have to get back into, the proper condition and hopefully be able to finish out the season strong. The good news is when he returns, he could potentially have 22 games remaining where he can get out there and play. And there's a couple of different things the Blazers want to do. One, they want to continue to ramp up his play and development. He's put in the time, and Coach Billups has praised him for his work ethic and the way he's handled everything throughout the course of his first season, which has been frustrating. In and out of the starting lineup. He's dealt with a variety of nagging injuries. He got off to a horrific start, but he's shown the character that you need to be able to overcome that. And my hope for him is that he'll return and be able to play, hopefully, his best stretch of basketball to close out the season and then enter the offseason with his rookie season complete, have more confidence, a better understanding of the NBA game, the speed of the game, and then be able to really go to work on his game, work on his shot, work on his pull-up, his catch and shoot, all the different items individually he can put time on, continue to work with the team and understand what he needs to focus on and what they want him to work on during the course of the summertime. And then when camp hits, he can come in with experience because he's got the rookie season done and with more confidence, having a better feel for the NBA game and make that, leap. And if just take a look at Jabari Walker. He was a second-round draft pick 2 years ago, didn't play much in his rookie season, worked a lot during the course of the summer, came into camp ready to go, and he's carved out a niche on this team. He's got a chance to start. He's also been a key player off the bench, and he's been ultra-productive. He's made a giant leap from year one to year two. And with Scoot's demeanor, his work ethic, his attitude, and his God-given ability, I would expect for him, and my hope for him is that he can make a tremendous jump from year one to year two and really start to make the type of impact that we were all expecting when they took him number 3 overall in the draft last year. So exciting times for Scoot Henderson, but you got to get him back on the floor. I would say the one overarching issue for this team that's just caused all sorts of issues has been the lack of continuity. I mean, this team has not been good so far this season. They just haven't. 17 wins. They're 17-42. But when you look at the guys they've been without throughout the course of the season, if they would have had their entire crew of players, they wouldn't be a 17-win team. More importantly, for new guys like DeAndre Ayton who are adjusting to a new city and a new team, new coaching staff, new teammates, he would have more consistency game to game. I think for the youngsters, who are constantly on the floor in with different combinations of lineups, it's hard for them to adjust. And I think for the veterans too, it's difficult when Grant and Ant are on the floor trying to, work and get their shots up, get their game on when they're working with young guys that don't understand NBA offense or defense yet. So it creates problems. So what I'm looking for is some type of, continuity to close out the year. It's just been a mess. It's messy. It's one of those type of years that I wanted erased from my mind and have the Blazers get on to next year so we can see them with hopefully a lot better health and youngsters who have more experience so they can play better basketball. Very frustrating. I can't imagine what it's like to be a coach when you don't know game to game who's going to be available and going to be able to play for you. Like, that's not the way you want to go about it. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. And from a product standpoint, I want to watch Scoot right now. I want to watch him. He's exciting. He's fun to watch. I want to see him grow and develop. And when he's not on the floor, it's just not the same. So, but credit to the other guys, like we saw this past weekend in Memphis, getting called upon, getting an opportunity to play and going out and making the most of it. And that's really what it's all about. Now, 2 of those guys that stepped up over the weekend were Tamani Kamara and Jabari Walker, and Billups talked about their play after the game.
Two is he's just a winner. He's going to do all the winning things that don't really show up on this stat sheet. But for him out there, 15 and 7, and he's just an irritant out there. He gets under people's skin. Did a really good job pressuring the ball and the deflections, and comes up with two really, really big plays. That flagrant that. We ended up only getting one free throw, and they got four. I said something don't feel right about this, but the rules are the rules. But we still hung in there. We just hung in there, and I loved it.
Yeah, that's what you want. You want the guys to hang in. You want them to, grind, and they saw that. And I think, we heard from Jabari Walker. It was Malcolm Brogdon who was encouraging his teammates, saying, hey, you guys are playing hard. Just execute better, pick up the intensity, and you can get back in this game. And they certainly did. They fought down the stretch. Anthony Simons had a big fourth quarter, and you saw multiple guys step up with defensive plays, with key offensive rebounds, and multiple guys able to make shots to get it done. That was a team win. That's what made that fun. On both nights, Friday and Saturday. Friday, Grant and Ant really made no impact, but it was everybody else on the floor who was able to step up and get it done. And you love to see it. Now, after the game, Ashton Hagans, who had a big night, 13 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. He had a chance to speak after the game, starting with Brooke.
I mean, down 18, get to overtime, and you get the win. What was that experience like tonight?
Just that opportunity where my name was called, my number was called, and just get in there and do whatever I can to help my team, bring the energy, and that's what happened. Guys that was in the second unit, third unit, no matter what, they was just stayed ready, came in, fought, and brought energy.
Coach Billups just saying minutes ago that he has all the confidence in the world in you. What does that mean to you?
Just the coach like that's willing to put his confidence in you late in the stretch like that. Down 18 and going into the fourth. Hey, that's big, and I just thank this organization, thank Coach, and for giving me this opportunity. But now it's just time to just keep it going, keep it rolling, and just move on to the next. We got a big one in Minnesota, and we're just trying to get that win too.
What were you guys saying to each other in the fourth and in overtime? I mean, you had to be really communicating a lot.
We played games where we've been down like this before in these last 5-game stretch. So just stay together, just talk to each other. Communication, the biggest thing in this game of basketball, and that's just what the coaches was stalling into us. Just talk, be there for each other, and just fight, and just try to bring the game back. And we did that.
So many guys got involved tonight. Obviously, Tumani on the defensive end, Jabari hitting those huge free throws. And again, it felt as though another team win tonight.
Right, huge team win. Jabari and Tumani, energy guys to come in, give us what we need, can guard on both end, on defensive end, and make things happen on the offensive end. So that's just what we need. And if they come in and play like that every game, we're gonna go far.
Good for him. I'm a big fan of Ashton Hagans. He came in difficult situation where he arrived in town and because of injury was thrust into action in that game against Detroit that went into overtime. The Blazers ended up losing that game, and Hagans was on the floor playing large minutes without having any understanding of the sets or how to run the offense or anything. But he's, put his nose to the grindstone and worked really hard, and Coach Billups has been proud of him and his efforts. And I would say for him, Hagans, and then also Delano Banton, look, I don't know what the future holds for either one of those guys or if they're going to be here in town for an extended period of time. But I can tell you this, they're doing a good job of showcasing their talents. And when you do that and you work like that, you're going to put yourself in a position to be noticed by either the Trailblazers or a different team. When you compete like that and you play like that, you'll create opportunities for yourself. And that's the best part about a season like this for the Trailblazers, where guys like that will get an opportunity to play. And Hagans was huge down the stretch. He was just as much of a part of it as everyone else.
Simons out on the perimeter with the Blazers down 8. Gives to Hagans, 3 on the way. Got it! Ashton Hagans from downtown.
Boom. So the Blazers are going to continue to look to other guys with all the injuries they're going to have tonight to finish out this road trip in Minnesota. And hopefully we'll see Scoot Henderson back on the floor. I would expect it on Wednesday when Oklahoma City comes to town. But the next 2 nights, they got Minnesota tonight. They're a half game back of first in the Western Conference, and Oklahoma City right now is on top. It's crazy. Throughout the entire season, Oklahoma City and Minnesota have been right up there at the top. Your standings right now, Oklahoma City at 42 and 18, number one in the West. Minnesota second, 42 and 19, a half game back. And Denver also a half game back at 42 and 19. At 4, it's the Clippers. They're 2.5 games back of the top spot, 39 and 20. The Pelicans 6.5 back, and the Sacramento Kings in 6th right now, tied with the Suns, 7.5 games back. And Dallas lurking right there at 8, 8.5 back. And then Golden State and the Lakers both 10 games back. The one thing I do know about the Western Conference, 1 through 10, it's going to be some combination of those 10 teams that will be in the Western Conference playoffs. The drop-off after the Warriors and Lakers are tied for 10th, Utah, 15.5 back, followed by Houston, Memphis, Portland, and San Antonio. So the top 10 in the West, in some order, will be your top 10 playoff teams. Now, the best team, it's the Denver Nuggets. They're the best team. They're a half game out of first right now. It doesn't matter whether they get home court advantage or not, but they definitely have a chance to do it. Nikola Jokic is the best player on the planet, and we saw what they did again this weekend. Last weekend, it was the Warriors, where Golden State played tough for 2.5, 3 quarters, and then Denver's talent, experience, and just their play, they took it to a different level, and they pulled away and got the win. Same thing this past weekend in L.A. against the Lakers. The Lakers played tough for 2.5, 3 quarters, and then Denver started to really clamp down and just showcase what they're about, and they pulled away and got the win. And the Nuggets, they're just a dominant basketball team. Their starting five is experienced. They've got big-time players across the board, and they've got the MVP play of Nikola Jokic. I just would be surprised if Denver gets knocked out in the Western Conference playoffs. The only thing that can stop Denver right now would be an injury. In the Eastern Conference, it's pretty clear. Boston's your top team. They'll be the number 1 seed. Milwaukee is second. Boston is 8.5 games in front of Milwaukee. And Milwaukee's won 5 straight. They're definitely playing better basketball, but the Celtics are the hottest team in NBA right now with 11 straight wins. I mean, they are locked in and focused. And with their defense and the way they played throughout the year, it's going to be tough. And I would be surprised in the East if someone's able to knock them off. And we very well will get the Milwaukee-Boston Eastern Conference Final, and that'll be awesome. But until further notice, Boston is the team to beat. And you probably saw what they did yesterday to the Golden State Warriors. They completely obliterated the Warriors in Boston, 140-88. 52-point win. They're not messing around right now. They're out there trying to get things done. Minnesota took a loss yesterday, 89-88 to the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard had 32 in that one. Anthony Edwards with 27 points and 3 steals. So right now, I think it looks pretty clear. Denver in the West, Boston in the East. And then we'll see what teams can provide legitimate challenges to those top 2 teams in both conferences. But Denver looks really good. And Boston is locked in and focused, and they're getting great play from Tatum, from Brown, the rest of the crew. And Porzingis has been a nice find for them, a great addition. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. We'll come back with an NBA scoreboard report. And here in about 10 minutes, we'll step into the Coach's Corner and hear from Chauncey Billups. Chad doing here. It's Blazers game day. Tip-off with the Blazers and Wolves coming up at 5 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, checking your schedule for the games tonight in the association. Starting at 4:30, the Grizzlies are going to be in Brooklyn to take on the Nets. Brooklyn is favored by 9.5. 5 o'clock tip on NBA TV. The Clippers are in Milwaukee to meet the Bucks. Milwaukee with 5 straight wins. They're favored by 3.5. 5 o'clock tip in Minnesota. The Trailblazers and Timberwolves. Minnesota favored by 14.5. We have a 6 o'clock tip in Utah, Wizards and Jazz. Utah right now a 5.5 point favorite. 7 o'clock tip in Sacramento, the Kings and Bulls. Sacramento favored by 6.5. And the second part of the doubleheader on NBA TV, the Thunder are in Los Angeles to take on the Lakers. That game will tip off at 7:30. Right now, Oklahoma City is favored by 1.5. And this could be a potential preview of a first-round matchup in the Western Conference playoffs, the Thunder and Lakers. And big props to LeBron James, who just surpassed the 40,000-point mark in the NBA, which is pretty crazy. I am a Michael Jordan guy, always have been, always will be. So I do not consider LeBron the greatest to have ever played the game, but I do admire his longevity, the longevity in which he's been able to play the game at an incredibly high level and still be this productive this deep in his career. It's mind-boggling. It truly is. I admire his craft, the way he's gone about taking care of his body and being able to focus on conditioning at this level to be able to play the way he has for such a long period of time. Never seen anything like it. He's a freak. He's a freak of nature, and he surpassed 40,000 points. And tonight, the Thunder will be in L.A. to take on the Lakers. The Blazers and Timberwolves are coming up with a tip-off just after 5 o'clock. Chris Burkhart's going to have your Trailblazer pregame show coming up at 4. For the Blazers, I just want to see them continue what we've seen over the last couple of games in Memphis where they had, a lot of teamwork and a lot of different guys, stepping up to make a contribution. And it's pretty impressive because, with the young guys, you never really know what you're going to expect. But what I like about this game in which they're able to go out and win on Saturday, they didn't play well for basically 3 quarters. And yet they hung in there and continued to grind and get after it. And I like it when you have multiple guys stepping up to make game-winning contributions. Kamara had an impact. Dewap Reef played extremely well and has done so regardless of role coming off the bench or having to start throughout the course of this season when DeAndre Ayton's been out. Anthony Simons was the meal ticket and provided the big-time offense in the fourth quarter and in overtime. Jabari Walker was clutch all the way throughout the entire game. His offensive rebounding and skills have been, a definite find for the Trailblazers. And then you get the 2 new guys, Ashton Hagans and Delano Banton, to step up. So you want to continue to see that. And these young guys are going to continue to get opportunities with minutes throughout the course of the rest of this regular season. So when they get called upon and they have a chance to go out there, they got to go out there and capitalize and make the most of it. Now, with Jabari Walker, what I like about him, and I'm still not sure what he is, and depending on who you talk to, you may get a different answer. I don't know if Walker's a starter or is a role player, but I know one thing, he belongs in the NBA. That much I'm certain of. But what he does is he has an incredible understanding of what he is as a player, and he knows what he does best. But most importantly, he understands what skill set he brings to the table that helps the team the most. And he doesn't veer away from that. He understands the Blazers coaching staff wants him to rebound and be an energy guy off the bench, and so he does that. But he's one of those rare guys that can rebound because he understands where the ball is going to bounce to. The geometry. A lot of guys don't have that, but he's got that. He just knows where the ball is going to go. And you watch him when he's on the floor, he can sniff out a rebound. He knows how to get to the ball, and he's learning how to use his body and control to be able to score. But his impact has been great. And what I love about him, the work ethic is there. He listens to the coaching staff, and he understands what they want him to do. And then he goes out there and does it. Too many guys in this league are worried about all the things that they shouldn't be. Getting their touches or showcasing their offensive skills. But Jabari Walker understands that, number one, got to be an energy guy. I've got to rebound. I've got to scrap. And if I work and continue to put in the time, I'll create opportunities for myself on the offensive end. And so he's going about it the right way. So that's what I'm looking for. And really, and Coach Bill has pointed this out, a couple of games ago, the number one priority right now is player development. Unfortunately, 2 of the key guys that you want on the floor to develop, Scoot Henderson's been out, and, of course, Shaedon Sharpe is out for an extended period of time. I expect Scoot back this week. Shaden, the plan, or at least what Coach Phillips has talked about, is to get him back on the floor before the end of the regular season. But you want these guys to continue to play and have a chance to develop. But let's take a look at the development of the young players so far. We heard Tamani Kamara a couple of nights ago, and he was talking about this on Friday. He doesn't want to be a one-dimensional player. He understands the concerns about his offense. He knows that in order to take that next step as an NBA player, he's got to develop the offense and be able to knock down open shots. Once he does that and can become a consistent three-point shooter, then he'll become a threat. But his understanding of what he is and what he needs to become, I think, is important. And we're seeing some flashes where he's been able to step up and provide better offense. The game on Saturday was a perfect example. 15 points, 3 of 4 from downtown. Defense is not going to be an issue for him. He's tenacious. He's willing to get after it, and he's willing to put his face in the middle of danger, like we saw when he took that elbow to the chin from Williams Jr. But he understands he's got to continue to work on his offense, become a lethal three-point shooter. And then his game will go to another level, and he'll carve out a niche for himself in the NBA. But he's shown flashes this year. The Blazers discovered a guy in Tamani Kamara, and he's continuing to get better. That's growth. That's what you want to see. And no one knew what to expect from Kamara when he came in. But the Blazers have found something there. I think the other guy is Jabari Walker, for all the reasons I just mentioned. Second-round pick, didn't play much his first year, put in a lot of time during the offseason, and now has become a vital part of this rotation. He's had a chance to start, and he's been productive, and he's been a great energy guy, rebounder, and making an impact on the offensive glass off the bench. Now, there have been times where, just like any player who lacks, a certain level of talent in the NBA, when they're on the floor too much, they can get exposed, but that's to be expected from young guys. But we've seen tremendous growth from Jabari from year one to year two. So I think with Tamani Kamara, progress this year in year one, great growth from Jabari from year one to year two. Now, with Shaden Sharp, we saw some flashes at the end of last year when he got a chance to play and play a ton. We saw some flashes to begin the year. I think he struggled at first with the numerous injuries when Ant and Scoot were out. He was in a position where he had to handle the rock and be a facilitator. Coach Billups acknowledged that he was probably overloading his plate to a certain degree, but he responded and continues to play. Unfortunately for him, he's been off the floor for an extended period of time, so how much of a hiccup is that going to provide when he does return to the floor in terms of his growth and development? But we've seen flashes. And then with Scoot Henderson, again, frustrating because he hasn't been able to play with his adductor strain, but we've seen growth throughout the course of the year. Got off to a really bad start, dealt with the bone bruise, then showed a couple of flashes in a game or two, and that recent stretch, the last couple of weeks before the All-Star break, he really started to emerge, playing with more confidence. You can see the work that he's putting in individually on his shot, getting better in that area, and just the game slowing down. So one of the ways I'm evaluating the coaching staff is, for the development of the young guys. And I think if you're being fair to Billups and his staff, the young guys have done pretty well. Not where you want them to be, but we're seeing progress, growth. They're moving in the right direction. Now it's just a matter of getting these guys back on the floor so they can continue to play. And with the new guys, with Banton and Higgins, I like the way they played. The Blazers coaching staff has been able to get them involved. They've been able to make an impact. I just don't know long-term if their future's here in Portland or somewhere else. But especially for Banton, with his size and his length and his toughness, he looks like a guy that can play. Now, he's got to continue to showcase that, but he has made the most of his opportunity in Portland thus far. It's impressive. The other thing I want to watch, too, is, and this is part of the frustration about this year. One, I love watching Scoot. Can't watch him right now because he's out with the adductor strain. I'm a big fan of DeAndre Ayton. I was excited when the Blazers got him. But the last 13 games before he took the fall against Miami, and he's been out the last couple of games, and he's not going to play tonight, it looks like. He could, but it's maybe not likely, but he should be back in the lineup at least by Wednesday. Those last 13 games were the best stretch he's had in the Trailblazer uniform. I want him to work out because I like him, and I know with his skill set and the size, he can be a dominant player, but the Blazers got to find ways to continue to keep him engaged. And I want to see if he can do that the rest of the way once he gets back on the floor. And then I think the bigger overarching question with Ayton is, moving into next year, How does the coaching staff and his teammates keep him engaged to where we can see the same type of play we've gotten over the last 13 games that he's been in when he's not the, first or second option on the floor? How do you keep him engaged? And I think that's a combination of the coaching staff emphasizing the importance of getting him the basketball in spots, um, showing him ways to where he can work hard to benefit the team, which is ultimately going to come back and benefit him in terms of his future and potential contract opportunities. The coaching staff's got to be able to paint that picture in his mind so that he'll go out there and do the work you want him to do. It's critical. And that's not an easy thing to do as a coach. The example I always use is Steve Kerr. When he took over and got the head coaching job with the Warriors, Andre Iguodala, who was a well-respected vet and a big-time player, he was the starter when Kerr took over. But he got hurt at the beginning of that season back in 2014, and Draymond Green had a chance to play and start. And that's when Kerr realized we need Draymond Green starting for us because he solidifies that starting unit. So what he did is he went to Andre Iguodala, and he's like, look, we're going to start Draymond because we need him in the starting lineup. But, Andre, I need you to be the captain of the second unit. I need you to embrace that role. I need you to be a defensive stopper and an energy guy. You're still going to get touches. You'll still get some shots, but I need you to captain that second unit because it's going to be better for you and for the team. And look what happened. The team had great success. They got to an NBA Finals. They took out LeBron and the Cavs. And guess who was named MVP of the Finals? It was Andre Iguodala. So Kerr was able to go to him, explain to him why he needed to take on this role and how it was going to help him and the team. And then he got the payoff with the Finals MVP and a championship. And when you have a coach that lays out a plan for what you need to do and why it needs to be done, and then you get success from that, that's when players develop confidence that the coach and the coaching staff's got a plan that's going to work. I mean, the players will play hard for you, and they'll listen. But you got to see, or they have to see some sort of result to continue to give you everything they got. And I would say this, that throughout the course of this year, which has been pretty brutal, the players have not tuned out Coach Billups. And that's good. And in regards to Coach Billups, I made this point about him. I'm still in the process of evaluating him. The first couple of years after he took over, he thought he was going to get one thing, which is a veteran basketball team, that he was supposed to help become a better defensive team so they could compete in the postseason. And what he got was a big mess. Injuries, 2 tank seasons, and now your veterans are gone and you're starting from scratch, rebuilding a team with young players. It's different than what he anticipated. So I don't know how you really evaluate a guy through a couple of seasons where you focus specifically on improving your lottery position, and that's tough. But I'll say this about Coach Billups. The Blazers don't have to make a move with Coach right now. The Blazers are going through this rocky patch. It wouldn't make sense to let go of him now because he's on a cheaper contract. Plus, if you go out and make the move with Coach right now, who's going to be willing to come in a big-time coach or an up-and-comer that's got a chance to be great? Would they really want to take this position? What you do is you can continue to ride Billups and see how things continue to develop before you make a big decision like that. And since he's doing a good job with the young guys and he's got a good connection with your key player in Scoot who must hit, I just don't see any reason to rush and make a decision at coach after everything he's been through. And for this season, with the guys who have been in and out of the lineup, once again, how can you truly evaluate? So I think, number one, you got to look at the player development with the young guys that we just went through. Then you got to look at the progress that they've been able to make with DeAndre Ayton. And then you can look elsewhere. How the offense, are you getting guys to respond and play the way you want them to? What about the defense? Are guys responding and getting to the spots and communicating the way you want them to? And then you look at that. But again, that's tough when you've got different guys in and out on a nightly basis because of the injury report. So I know it's tough. It's a tough one right now. But the Blazers got to continue to push forward and develop. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on Blazers Game Day. We will get to the Coach's Corner. And we'll hear from Chauncey Billups coming off the win over Memphis. Back-to-back wins for Portland. They've got a chance to make it a 3-game sweep on the road trip. They're back home on Wednesday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Tip-off tonight against the Timberwolves at 5. And it's right here in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, the Trailblazers getting ready for action. They're going to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight, wrapping up their three-game road trip. Tip-off will be at 5 o'clock. Let's check in with Blazers coach Chauncey Billups coming off the 107-100 overtime victory Saturday in Memphis against the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I mean, super proud of him. Man, I just knew just coming into the game that we was going to have to do everything we could. You know, you beat a team like that who obviously they have an incredible culture. They're coached very well over there, and you beat them at home like that, you know that they're going to come out and swing, throw every swing that they can at you. And they did that. I thought we responded okay, but we could never get over the hump. And then you come out after halftime, and I didn't think we played well at all in that first half, and you're still only down 4. We left a lot out there. And then, man, we scored 14 points, you know. And I thought we stopped sharing the ball in that third quarter. And so we got back to it. So let's just, start it forward. Let's try to cut it to single digits, man. Let's cut it to single digits, and we'll regroup. And we did that. So many guys played so well. Ashton, I've been so proud of him. You know, he's just a warrior. He really is. He's out there. He lays it on the line every single night, every play that he can. Jabari obviously gave us great minutes. I thought Ant's performance was high level. They threw everything in the kitchen sink at him, denying him full, boxing one. They did everything they could. He stayed patient. You know, he trusted his teammates. I just thought it was a great performance by him. And then I was proud of Delano. Got in foul trouble. We really needed him tonight, but we could never really get him for long spells. It felt like in overtime, Ashton did all he could, but the way they were playing, and we need another scorer out there. Made the change, and he comes in right away, scores, boom. He made some big plays for us.
And then, Tumani doing Tumani things, drawing that foul, and then part of the out of bounds, when Memphis threw it out of bounds, just doing the things that he does that you won't really see in the stat.
Two is he's just a winner.
Yeah.
He's just a winner. He's going to do all the winning things. Things that don't really show up on this stat sheet, but for him out there, 15 and 7, and he's just an irritant out there. He gets under people's skin. Did a really good job pressuring the ball and the deflections, and comes up with 2 really, really big plays. That flagrant that we ended up only getting 1 free throw, and they got 4. I said something don't feel right about this. But the rules are the rules. But we still hung in there. We just hung in there, and I loved it. Good. Whatever.
Jabari, I just spoke with him on the walk-off, and he said those are the most important free throws of his life. He said the ball back-to-back nights of double-doubles.
Yeah.
How much fun is it to watch him play, and you can see the confidence?
He's just growing, man. Barry's just growing, and he's the kind of player that, whatever you ask him to do, he's going to do it. He's going to do it as hard as he can. And it's fun to see him have some success there, and obviously we trust and believe in him. So when it was him on the line, I felt great, so I feel really good. He's going to make both of these, He works his butt off. He's in the gym all the time working on that, so I expect him to succeed, and that's exactly what he's doing.
You were down 13 with about 9 minutes to go. Anything in particular that y'all changed at that point, or did you just start making shots?
There was a couple different play calls that I went to that I felt we could free Ant up some. And the plays weren't necessarily for him to shoot, but to make the play. They started putting 2 on the ball on him at some point, kind of later in the fourth, and I said, perfect, I want to put the ball in his hands. We'll create an advantage there, play 4-on-3 on the backside. So there was some play calls, but more importantly than that, our guys got tougher on D and only allowed them 1 shot. No offensive rebounds. We had 1 bad bounce to the corner that Conchar got, but no real offensive rebounds. We allowed 1 shot, and we got out, and we tried to play before they set their defense up.
All right, there's Coach Billups following the Blazers' victory over the Memphis Grizzlies on Saturday. You could tell that was a happy coach right there. It's been a tough year for him, obviously a grind with all the different moving parts that he's got. But, when you spend so much time as the coaching staff working with the younger team, they're not just coaching pros, but they're doing a lot of teaching because of the youth. And so when you see a game like we saw on Friday or Saturday where the young guys respond and go out there and execute and do some of the things that you're asking them to do, there's got to be some great reward in that. because I would lose my mind. Like, I would just lose my mind. I would not be cut out for coaching. I wouldn't have the patience. I wouldn't be able to sit through and gut out the tough losses. I mean, that's exhausting. I can't imagine doing it. I would lose my mind. Just pick one of the craziest coaches in the history of college or NBA basketball. That would be me. Because I'd be yelling at guys. I'd be like Stan Van Gundy, and guys wouldn't be able to put up with it. It's like, what are you guys doing? That's not the play we drew up. What were you thinking on that shot? Like, I would lose my mind. So I admire coaches who are able to keep their cool under pressure and through frustrating moments, especially when they got guys on the floor that, ultimately you wouldn't want to have on the floor in key situations. I don't think finishing out games with Ashton Hagans and Delano Banton was at the top of Billup's mind when the season got underway, right? Like, I don't think that's how he drew it up in his dome. Like, oh, yeah, we got Ashton Hagans. We're going to pick that guy up, and then we'll roll out with Delano Banton. We'll pick that guy up before the end of the deadline. And he wasn't thinking about those two guys, but he's being forced to play those guys out of necessity. Like, that's not easy. I couldn't do it. I just wouldn't have the patience. I'd be fired like 2 weeks in. I'd be one of those guys where it's like, yeah, we thought this would work, but it was a disaster. You thought Adrian Griffin with the Bucks was a disaster? You just put me in there for a couple of minutes and let me deal with like 10 straight losses. Well, another 6-game losing streak. I'd pull my hair out. I don't know how they do it. I really don't. So I admire the patience and the willingness to continue to work with the young guys, and then you see the production. And you see the way guys continue to grind. Delano Banton's cool, though. That's a cool cat. He's very measured in his approach, but I like the way he plays. He's got some toughness to his game. He's got a different type of build. He's very lanky, long. But, man, he came into that overtime period and just went off. Like, don't worry, I got you. I got you guys. 8 of his 10 points in the overtime period. He came in, had that sweet finger roll, was able to do some work on the offensive glass, and just made big plays. And he's been doing that ever since he's had a chance to play for Portland. Not shy. A lot of guys get to a new team. They got to feel some things out. But Banton's come in and has been, very aggressive and, pretty competent from the get-go, which is impressive. I can see why some Blazer fans out there are taking note of what he's doing and appreciating the way he's balling. But, geez, can you imagine? Like, seriously, you ever put yourself in that position? I know people that have coached high school or even youth sports, and when you're dealing with, a lack of talent or issues, like, it's maddening. So that's where the Blazers are at right now. And as I mentioned before, there's going to be a slew of guys out of the lineup tonight. I'm hoping that DeAndre Ayton's going to get a chance to play tonight. I'm hoping, but multiple guys are going to be out. So there's not going to be access to Scoot. He's still out with the adductor strain. Malcolm Brogdon is still out with the elbow tendonitis. Sharp and Williams are out. Grant is doubtful with right quad soreness. And you got the questionable group with Ayton and Thibault. Yeah, good luck with that. Jeez, it's like every day you look at the injury report. It's like, are you kidding me? If I worked in the, if I was like a team doctor, I would not want to talk to Coach Bose right now. Well, you got more bad news for me? And there's just certain people, like they only come around when they got bad news. That's like the medical staff in Chauncey Bose right now. I don't want to talk to you. Well, whatever you got, I don't need it. Please stay away from me. All right, let's keep things rolling. We're going to come back, and I'll give you the Coors Light Cold Hard Facts. Tip-off is coming up at 5, Blazers and Timberwolves. Chris Burkhardt standing by. He'll have your Trailblazer pregame show at 4 across the Trailblazer Radio Network. I appreciate your time on this Monday. The Blazers will return home on Wednesday and kick off a 6-game homestand against the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right, Coors Light Cold Hard Facts. After watching some NBA and looking over the standings, I think your Eastern Conference Finals matchup will be the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks. And in the Western Conference, I think it's going to be Denver and Minnesota. That's the Final Four that I'm expecting in the NBA, and I expect Denver and Boston to match up in the NBA Finals. Now, I'm going to be pulling for Milwaukee because I want to see Dame get to the finals and have a chance to compete on that level. So I'm hoping Milwaukee can find a way to navigate, but I just don't know if they have enough to get through Boston. I don't know if they've got enough. I'm not sure Doc Rivers has enough. I just don't know. But I'm hoping there's another gear for the Bucks, especially with Giannis to help them get over the hump. And I'd love to see Dame in an NBA Finals. I don't know where a lot of you stand. My guess is most of you are probably the same. Like, you're going to pull for Dame and want to see him do well. And it kind of gives me a Eastern Conference Trailblazer type team to pull for. So I'm fear the deer, Team Bucks, and I'm going to pull for the Milwaukee to get to the finals, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So, but that will be a sweet Eastern Conference Finals matchup. Boston, Milwaukee in the East, Denver, and Minnesota in the West. Now, with Minnesota, what I've been impressed with is just their willingness to defend. And they've got multiple guys who are doing that. And Rudy Gobert has been, really terrific along with Karl Anthony Towns this year. They're powered by Anthony Edwards, who is one of the bright young stars in the NBA. Love his game. And they've got a good mixture of youth and veteran play, and they play as a team. I mean, everyone on that team right now understands their role and knows what they're supposed to do. I like their size, and I think that's going to give issues for teams in the West. Now, these other teams that could rise up, like the LA Clippers, for example, love the way they're playing right now. I guess my question would be, can they stay healthy? If they do, I think they can be a definite threat, but I am concerned about their health. And against a team like Minnesota, if they end up matching up in the postseason, I think Minnesota will give them fits with their defense and their length. So, and with Oklahoma City, look, I love the way they're playing too. One of the best teams in the NBA. I just think that, at least what I've found in my time of watching the NBA, that you have to go through a bit of a refining fire as a young team, meaning you've got to learn how to win in the postseason. And what that normally means is that you have to go through some difficulties before you're able to get over the hump. We saw that with Denver for multiple seasons with Jokic. We'll probably see that with Oklahoma City. But once you get over that hump and you learn what it takes to win in the NBA playoffs, then you become a viable threat. And that's why the Clippers are a threat in the Western Conference, because of the veteran play that they have with the guys that they have. James Harden's playing well. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, those guys have been there and done that. I think Sacramento's a threat based on their experience last year in that terrific 7-game series that they had against the Golden State Warriors. They'll be better because of that experience last year in the postseason. And with Phoenix, I think they're a threat, but I still question their defense and their lack of size. So I do expect Minnesota to emerge and face off with Denver in the Western Conference Finals. And I think before the season's over, my guess would be Denver and Minnesota will be your top 2 teams in the West. That's kind of how I see things shaking out. But, a long way to go. A lot of things can change between now and when the playoffs get underway, with still a couple of months left in the regular season. Who's going to stay healthy? Who's going to be able to step it up and play their best basketball at the right time? And a lot of times that's it. Some teams get hot at the right time and they enter the postseason playing their best basketball. The other thing I've seen, though, with teams like, Golden State and the Lakers, they're threats because of some of the talent they've got. But we've seen that against Denver the last couple of weeks. They can compete for a while, but when they match up against a team that's solid 1 through 5, they just can't ratchet it up enough to get over the hump. And so I think Golden State, they're going to be a postseason team. They're going to get in, but I think it will determine on who they match up with in the first round. Now, what if Golden State ends up playing Oklahoma City in the first round? Well, I like the Warriors' chances because of their playoff experience. But if they match up against Minnesota or Denver, I don't like their chances at all. So it's really going to come down to matchups too. But that could be some intriguing first-round matchups. You could have Oklahoma City possibly playing the Lakers, or you could have Oklahoma City playing the Warriors. You could get Minnesota and the Lakers. That'd be fun with the size of both teams. Or Denver could jump up to the top and end up taking on Golden State or the Lakers in round number 1. And that'd be a fun series. Golden State and Denver will get monster ratings for a first-round matchup. So we'll see how things shake out, but that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Boston, Milwaukee in the East, Denver, and Minnesota in the Western Conference. So it's hard for us to understand this because Minnesota has not been historically a dominant team in the NBA, but they're just kind of flying under the radar. Like Anthony Edwards is a star, but they don't have a lot of household names to a certain degree. But don't let that fool you. They're playing good basketball right now. And they're going to, well, once again, get a chance to see that tonight. And tonight, keep an eye on Ant. He struggled so far this year against Minnesota because of their length and their size. And he doesn't have a lot of space to work with against the Timberwolves because of the different guys they're going to throw at him. So I'm anxious to see how Anthony Simons responds to the challenge that he's going to see tonight. Also, an injury update. DeAndre Ayton is out tonight, which means Duop Reef will get another start at center. So my guess would be when the Blazers come back home for that game Wednesday against Oklahoma City to kick off the homestand, we'll get Ayton and Scoot back in the lineup. That would be my guess at this point. All right, we'll come back on game day. We'll give you the keys to the game. Tip-off is right around the corner, coming up at 5. Chris Burkhardt standing by for your Trailblazer pregame show on the Trailblazer Radio Network, which will start at 4. All right, keys to the game tonight. One, and they've been doing a good job of this over the last few games. Rebounding is going to be critical tonight with the size that Minnesota's putting on the floor. So I want to see the Blazers continue to make that team effort to crash the glass. I mean, going after the rebounds, it's going to take a team effort tonight, especially with that DeAndre Ayton on the floor against the size we're going to see with Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns and company. But the Blazers' last few games have been great with the offensive glass. They've been able to create some opportunities. And with the defense they're going to face tonight, Minnesota is the top defensive team in the NBA. You're going to want to grab some of those offensive rebounds to give yourself some second chance points. So rebounding is priority number one. And that's going to require an entire team to do it. Also, with the defense they're going to be facing, they've got to make sure they do a better job of protecting the basketball. They were plagued by turnovers through the first three quarters of the game on Saturday. But against Minnesota, with the type of pressure they apply, they've got to do a better job of protecting the ball and limiting those dreaded live ball turnovers, which can turn into easy buckets. So rebound as a team, protect the basketball, and don't give Minnesota easy chances. And then outside of that, against the type of defense they're going to face tonight, the Blazers need to use good ball movement. They're going to have to play with the energy from the start and be locked in. They were not locked in to kick off the game on Saturday, but against Minnesota, you got to be ready to go from the start. And that means executing well, moving the basketball around, and giving guys an opportunity to get open looks. And I don't care who it is that's getting the shots, but player movement and ball movement. The best way to attack a tough defense is to move bodies, move the basketball. But if you become predictable and you start pounding the ball too much, Minnesota's got the type of defensive guys who can shut you down. So I think that's going to be critical, player movement and ball movement. So those three things, move the ball around, get those assist numbers up, rebound as a team, and then protect the basketball. Focus on that and limit the live ball turnovers. And I think Portland will have a chance to, I guess what you're trying to do against a team like Minnesota on the road tonight, and you're shorthanded, just do what you can to stay within striking distance. So when you enter the fourth quarter, you got a chance to pull off an upset. That's really the key. Last time they played there, they got down big and the game was over early. So you want to keep yourself within striking distance. And that's going to require everyone to step up and make a contribution. But the good thing is sometimes you can catch a team like Minnesota, one of the best teams in the NBA. Look at the matchup tonight. You know, the mindset, they might take their foot off the gas potentially, maybe, possibly. And then maybe you catch them sleeping a little bit, and that'll give you a chance to keep the game close. The problem is they're coming off a loss to the Clippers, so you might get a Minnesota group that's locked in and ready to roll. It's tough. It is what it is. But again, it's not about the win or the loss, but, the young guys continuing to step up, executing, listening to what the coaches want them to do and going out there and getting the job done. And if they can do that, against one of the best teams in the NBA, then I can live with that. All right, Chris Burkhardt standing by for your Trailblazer pregame show, which is coming up at 4, tip-off at 5. I'll be back following the game for the fifth quarter to break it down for you right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.